I'm back with Sean Convery, GM of the Security Division of ServiceNow. Welcome back, Sean.
Thanks, John. I appreciate you reminding me to wear my pink shirt.
Yeah, we're kind of in sync here, although mine's darker than yours. Let's talk about SOAPA, though. We kind of talked around SOAPA in the first part of the video. SOAPA is an integrated architecture, and the key there is two words, integration and architecture. Are your customers asking for integration, and are they building an architecture?
What they're saying to us, at least, is they've got, in some cases, north of 100 security vendors. And so their bar to introduce somebody else to the equation is, how are you going to simplify things, as opposed to how are you going to create another integration challenge for me? So they're absolutely looking for a heterogeneous approach to the problem where you can integrate the technology from multiple systems into a common way of approaching the process and your own response.
And how does that work if I've got some on-premise equipment? On-premise analytics or operations tools, and you're a cloud-based tool. How does that work? How do those plug in together?
Yeah, architecturally we have something called a mid-server, which is basically think of it as an on-prem gateway.
Like proxy.
Exactly. That gets you access to the information that you need and then funnels it up through to the cloud.
And tell me about some of those integration points. I mean, because you're unique in that you're integrating with IT operations tools and security operations tools. So what are the unique kind of mixes that you see?
Well, I think there's two ways of thinking about this. The first is one of our most obvious integrations is to the rest of the ServiceNow platform, right? So back to the vulnerability conversation we were having, not only can the CIO and the CISO have an agreed upon approach, but unlike most security teams, when security opens a case or a ticket with IT from ServiceNow, you can actually have an SLA that stays within the system. So if it's, again, back to our 4-day example, right, you can actually see, I'm 80% in compliance with a 4-day SLA, and you can sort of measure that over time. So that's sort of the biggest original integration is into the platform. But outside of that, we've got, lots of integrations into, obviously the SIM providers is an obvious place for us to integrate because they're giving us a lot of alert data. The vulnerability scanning vendors are giving us great feeds, and we take both of those feeds and enrich that with the business understanding of our assets, and then we have a whole set of additional integrations based on customer demand, whether it's Slack or tying into other specific threat intelligence feeds or other enforcement feeds like Palo Alto Networks.
Okay, and are there challenges with those integrations? I mean, are you going kind of point-to-point integration with each of these vendors, or are you, because you're a pretty big vendor, do you have some standards that you can kind of push on the market?
Yeah, we're not pushing standards on the market in terms of how they need to integrate with us. What we've actually done is realize that we're new in town when it comes to security. So we've built a capabilities framework, which you can think of as almost an abstraction layer that's inside the ServiceNow security operations product, so that you can actually tie in multiple SIM vendors, for example, because we have a lot of people that they're using Elasticsearch and Splunk, for example, so you want to pull them both in, and then the rest of the product doesn't need to understand the nuances of Splunk versus Elastic. They just make a single call to this, log integration API, and that can, be fulfilled across multiple systems. So it gives customers a lot of flexibility on which vendors they want to choose, because it doesn't, as you swap them out, you don't have to change your runbooks, you don't have to change your process, you don't have to change your automation.
Okay. What surprised you? Because you've been in security for a long time. You went to ServiceNow. ServiceNow is now entering security. So what surprised you in that whole, in what customers are doing in the integration part?
I think the most surprising thing was just how immature the average customer is in their process. I was frankly shocked. I knew that as an industry we've been sort of paying lip service to this idea of how important system administration is and good security analytics and everything else. But we started unpacking these problems, and I talked to a Fortune 100 customer that said they spend 40% of their IR time just trying to figure out who owns the IP address that has been attacked. And that's terrible for a couple of reasons. First is, 40% of a multi-hour journey is a long time, sometimes multiple days. But if at the end of that journey you find out that the attack is irrelevant because it was against a lab system or it was a Linux attack against a Windows infrastructure, then that's just entirely wasted.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I've had a lot of conversations with customers around these topics, around automation and orchestration. And even companies like household companies, lots of security resources, have said to me, I wish somebody would come in and tell me if I'm doing things right. Are you finding that to be true?
We are. We're seeing a lot of customers that are saying, look, our state of the art is still Excel. Right? I was actually just meeting with a customer yesterday that, like step one for them is let's just get them out of Excel into something that provides some stateful understanding of where you are with your vulnerabilities, where you are with your incidents, so you can measure. And so it's I think the bar in terms of the impact that a customer can have by deploying something like this is huge, because it's a transformational shift forward. And if you think about IT, they went through this evolution many, many years ago as they went to a more modern service desk approach and used technologies like ServiceNow to do that. Mm-hmm. I think security stands to benefit from all of that investment in workflow and system of action and all the approaches that we've been espousing as a company for a dozen years now, to make a leap forward to catch up to where IT is now. So it's actually, I think, a much more dramatic shift than the shift IT has seen over the last several years.
So, last question: what do you see for the future for this SOAPA concept? Do you think it has legs? Do you think that we can get the industry to play, or even does it benefit ServiceNow?
I mean, it absolutely benefits ServiceNow. So I think the entire foundation of our approach is a multi-vendor approach. And so I have had a front row seat during my time at Cisco to sort of look at the focus on more of a homogeneous stack of security technology. I've seen that play out. And I think even among the players that you'd most naturally associate with a stack of technology, whether it's a Symantec or a McAfee or a Cisco, the larger players, even they seem to be, if not overtly acknowledging, they're talking more and more about how important it is to integrate the technologies from multiple vendors. So I just don't see another way forward without embracing a heterogeneous model as the only viable approach to real security operations.
Yeah, that's my point too. The alternative is Symantec has its model, McAfee has its model, IBM, Cisco, et cetera, and that just doesn't scale. That doesn't benefit customers.
Absolutely, and it also in many cases locks them into a particular approach. So even if a particular vendor supports multiple vendors, if they at their core have their own technology, it's always going to be, well, we work with everybody, but we work best with our own stuff.
Sean, I could talk to you all day, but videos kind of come and go. We're at the end, so thanks again for participating, and we look forward to other videos soon.
My pleasure, John.